Hello everyone, this is Jinju at kimchimari.com. As my second video of 2022, I'm going to start my series on Korean barbecue. I know there's tons of recipes out there and videos, but I think my recipe is the best. I've been making bulgogi, and that's actually my top recipe on YouTube, on my blog, for as long as I've been married, 30 years now. And Kalbi too. So today I'm going to talk about Kalbi, marinated Kalbi, Korean barbecue. And Kalbi by itself means just ribs. So it can be, any animal, ribs of any animal, human. Kalbi just means ribs. But today I'm going to show you how to marinate the Korean Kalbi barbecue. Really easy, in the blender, no chopping needed. You just peel onions and garlic and put them together. And so I will show you how to do that. I will also talk about different ways to tenderize the meat. That's one of the key sort of the part of Korean barbecue. We make the meats very tender. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to talk about the meat first. Okay, so Korean kalbi are basically beef short ribs. That's the part of the cow that we make kalbi with. And I actually have 3 different cuts here, and I'll explain them all, and then we'll get cooking. Okay, so these are all kalbi. And the one, probably, if you have been to a restaurant, the one that you're probably most familiar with is this cut called LA Kalbi. It's cut across the bone, and this is actually not a traditional cut. It was something created, as it's called, LA, Los Angeles Kalbi. It was created by Korean immigrants in LA because it was really hard to get this cut or make this cut. And this is the way the actual traditional kalbi was made. And oh wow, so they did this all 3 in 1. This is actually, I didn't know that it was going to be like this. It should be the more classic way is 3 ribs cut separately, and then it's all sort of fanned out like this. And that's the way how traditionally Koreans enjoyed kalbi. It's also called bulgalbi sometimes, but it's kalbi gui is another way to say, grilled ribs. That's how Koreans had the cut made. Problem with this cut in the US, you can't do this by machine, right? A human has to a butcher has to cut it all the way, and it takes great knife skills. And so because that made the cost too high, so Korean immigrants decided to make it this way. And yeah, normally I don't buy this because it's so expensive. Even now, it's like almost twice as much. And so this is the one that I also, usually eat. And yeah, one thing is this cut, I think they kind of did it not in the best part of the cow. This should have meat all the way down here, equal amount. Where they took this cut is more of that cheaper area. Even the meat, you can see it's different. This has a lot more marbling. So this is actually taken from not this particular cut, but where the bones are narrower. So it's either towards the front end of the ribs of the cow, or the part that's more to the top where the ribs are smaller. And just to show you, so if I will try to show you with this is short ribs that's just cut, with each bone. It's actually used mostly for kalbijim and kalbitang, but this is how this would be made traditionally. So it should have more meat on here, and then you would fan cut it out. And that's also sometimes called pyeongalbi. Okay, so either way, marinade will be the same. And the only difference is with this LA cut, because the bone was cut through like that, sometimes depending on the market you buy it from, if their knife wasn't sharp, sometimes there are a lot of bone chips in it. So I usually like to kind of soak and rinse at the same time. And so we will do that. And this is something I learned from culinary school, is when you are dealing with cutting boards on a smooth surface like this one, this is like my granite top. If you actually just have it just with the board, it will start to slide around as you're trying to cut it. And this is going to need a bit of a knife skill, so you want to use a very sharp knife and you want to be safe. So the trick, and you should do this for any kind of cutting, you line it with a towel underneath, a kitchen towel, and then that way it doesn't move very well. So I want to show you how you can save a lot of money by buying the short ribs whole, like that. You can buy it actually from regular grocery stores too, or from a Korean market. But so this one, we use it for Galbi normally, for Korean food. There's also a lot of dishes that use short ribs. But from this, what you can do is you can actually cut and make that Kalbi that is so expensive from the Korean market. When I look at the price, there's like a $6 difference per pound between between this cut, the whole, and the one that's fanned out, because human labor cost goes into it. So I'm going to show you. And I'm no butcher, so I may not get it as perfect as ones you get from the market, but I'm just trying to give you the idea how to do it, and that way you can just enjoy it, the best cut of meat at home, using this method. So what I recommend, is to freeze the short ribs for about 2.5 hours, until it's kind of frozen, but it's still kind of soft. You don't want it too hard, okay? So, and you turn it upside down, okay? And so have the bone part up. And then you want to, actually maybe this side is better for you to see. And then you want to cut a thin layer from the bottom, all the way through. Is not so close that you're going to cut the meat all the way through, but so not all the way through, I guess, but enough so that there's still, this part is still attached, but enough cut that you can fan open like that, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to turn it now upside down. So that part of the cut is flapped out. And then you want to start cutting from this end and down. And keep cutting. Okay. And see how you are on the other side. Okay. And yeah, there we go, right? So then now we want to turn it over again. Okay, and then you want to start cutting from this end again, and cut it just enough, okay, so that it fans out. Okay, and then this is kind of hard because the bone is not straight. You may be able to get another fan out cut from it. Let's try. I may, and it's not a disaster if it, yeah, I don't think it's gonna hold, but we'll see, because it's good to get as much meat out of away, cut away from the bone as possible, right? So that way, you can grill all the way down. So I'm going to cut. Yeah, I think that worked. Although this part has a lot of fat, but there you go. So it's now a Galbi, the most expensive Korean beef Kalbi cut. Okay, and yeah, so that way you can enjoy, and this could be thinner. I think that's a good thickness. Okay, so here's the LA cut Kalbi, and I'm going to just dump them in water, and also this way you can wash out some of the fat bits too. So what I do is I just kind of, recipes will say to soak it in water, and you can do that, but again, as I always say, not totally necessary. It will kind of get rid of a bit of a gamey flavor or taste if the meat wasn't too fresh, or if you're really sensitive to that. But I personally don't find a big difference. So, but it is good to kind of rinse it and rinse any bone bits off. So I will just do that and then let it drain in a colander. Oh, one thing I want to talk about before we go further is about the different tenderizing ingredients that used in Korean marinade recipes, Korean barbecue recipes. You may wonder, wait, like, aren't you supposed to use pear? And Asian pear is, so in Korean pear is the sort of the standard classic ingredient to use to tenderize and to add a sort of a refreshing flavor to your marinade. And so you can certainly, if you have access to a pear, certainly use that. Instead of, in this recipe, I used onion, kind of lots of it to kind of work as a tenderizer. But you can certainly use Asian pear. When I made this, many years ago when I started doing it, it was actually hard to buy pears at different markets. Asian pears was not available at all in regular markets, and then I would have to go to a Korean market to buy it, and they're not cheap. So this was one of my solutions that I learned from a friend actually, and so that's why I use it. And for Kalbi, I don't. It's usually done in large amounts, and so. And because I blend it, onions to me works just as well. But certainly you can do that. And then the other ingredient that I use in my bulgogi, not here, is kiwi. Kiwi is a great tenderizer, but it's also very powerful. So you want to use just a tiny bit. For like 5 pounds of meat, you want to use like less than half a kiwi. So anyway, that's I wanted to talk about that just so you don't think this is not authentic. I mean, at some point, what is authentic and what is not, right? It's the flavor that needs to be authentic more than the ingredient. Sometimes I feel like you kind of have to do what you have. So we're just going to cut the onion. So if you were to do 5 pounds, you can use the whole onion, but we're just doing 2.5 pounds, so half an onion. And because it's going to go into the blender, you do want to cut it a little smaller because a whole onion may not blend well. Or, if you want to use a chopper too, you can do that. So we're going to cut half an onion. And then we're going to cut the green onions too, about 2 for 2.5 pounds, and we just need to cut it into, you know, just smaller pieces so that it fits into your blender. Okay, so then we're going to just put the garlic into the blender, so we don't need any to chop or cut or anything. If you already have chopped garlic, then you can just add that to your blender or chopper. And yeah, so let's go make the marinade. So into the blender, so I use a Vitamix. Again, it doesn't have to be totally fine, so you can use a chopper, blender, whatever you have. And so to that, we're going to add half an onion, and we're going to add the garlic. We're going to add the green onions, and then to that, we're going to add the water. And then there is a little tip here. We could add everything together and blend it. There, the problem is you get too much liquid, and then it's actually hard to blend or chop the onions and garlic. So what I like to do is at this point, I will blend it first and get the onions really fine, and then add the rest. So as you saw, sometimes it helps to kind of change the speed a bit to get the things moving and blend it. Okay, so to this, we're going to add half cup of sugar. So this is again for 2.5 pounds of Kalbi. Half cup of soy sauce, jinganjang, Korean soy sauce. No, not the soup soy sauce, but the soy sauce that's commonly used in different Asian cuisines. You can use that. 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. I'm going to add not a lot of sesame oil because the kalbi, the ribs are already quite fatty. And then we're going to add about ½ teaspoon of black pepper. And then I'm going to add red wine, 1/4 cup of red wine. And it can be, you know, doesn't have to be really high quality red wine as long as it's not spoiled. Because the the flavors are pretty strong, I feel like for this, you don't need a really good red wine. You can use, you know, pretty cheap ones as long as it's not bad, right? And then we're going to blend it one more time. And then you can, the sesame seeds, you can add later or you can add it now. If you add it now, it will just totally get blended. If you add it later, then you can see it visually and also kind of pop in your mouth. Okay, so one last optional ingredient that I like to add, you don't have to, but it's green plum syrup that I made last year. I put green plums in sugar for 100 days, and then all the juice from the plum gets extracted out, and you get this beautiful syrup that's tangy, that's sweet, and it adds a great additional flavor to your marinade. And it also helps to tenderize a little bit too. And so yeah, I love adding green plum syrup to all of my marinades. And then also you can make great drinks with it, ice or hot or cold. Okay, so let's go start blending. Okay, you don't need to blend a lot because we already blended all the onions and garlic, so we just want it to be all mixed together. Okay, so here I'm kind of using the blender bottom as a table, but here's how smooth and wonderfully blended the marinade is. Okay, so we have the marinade, and before we forget, we want to, I didn't blend it because I just wanted to add So we're adding some sesame seeds. And then we will now marinate. First I'll marinate the wonderful, very expensive, traditionally cut Kalbi here. And we will mix it all together well, with your hands. You kind of massage them a little bit. So, as I said, for Kalbi, it is good to let it marinate for a few hours to overnight in the fridge, so that it has time to absorb all the flavor, also get tenderized a bit. And and talking about tenderizer, one thing I also wanted to share was that if you ever, I don't know, end up with a very tough piece of meat, or you don't have any of the tenderizing ingredient on hand, a emergency sort of tenderizer that I like to use, and I know this is actually part of some recipes, Coke. You can use Coke, or I use Diet Coke, and you can just, sometimes what I end up doing is, for whatever reason, it's not really tender, but people are ready to eat, and you grill a piece and it's like pretty tough. You can even just like add a splash of Coke into your marinade, and it will tenderize within minutes. So that way you can quickly fix a very tough meat. I wouldn't leave it too long with the Coke because it is very powerful. So I usually just use it sort of as a last resort. So here's, and then what I like to do is either put this in a bag, or you can just put this bowl itself, cover it with some plastic wrap, and put it in the refrigerator and let it marinate overnight, to even like a couple days you could do. And you could even also make it ahead, freeze it, and defrost it and grill it. Okay, let's, I'll marinate the LA cut Kalbi now. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to cover it and refrigerate it for 12 hours to 24 hours, and that will be great. Korean barbecue is never complete without some sam, which are lettuce wraps, and samjang. So the way that we love to eat Kalbi or bulgogi or in samgyeopsal, all Korean barbecue, Koreans love to make get some lettuce. So this is red leaf lettuce here. Red leaf lettuce. This is green leaf lettuce here. Then my favorite, perilla leaves. And you also need some green chili peppers. These are Korean chili peppers. So they're not very spicy. They are spicy, but they're just a perfect sort of the additional sort of punch of flavor to kalbi. So it really helps to break up the fattiness and balances out the rich flavor of the meat. And so, and I will show you how you eat it, but I just wanted you to see how normally a full, lovely Korean barbecue is done with these lovely some material. And you can do other veggies too. Sometimes we do veggie sticks and dip it in samjang, and you enjoy it that way. And I have a separate video recipe for samjang that you can make at home. Or if you want to buy and you want my recommendation, here are two brands that I actually taste tested probably about 6 different samjangs. But this is one of my favorites, Hagejeol samjang. Again, I'm no affiliate, so I'm just giving you my honest opinion. That's one. And then the other is 샘표 양념이 맛있는 쌈장. So This one, I like that it has no MSG, although it will have some, I think, corn syrup in it. So now we're ready. This has been marinating since yesterday. Today, so it's been like there for 24 hours. Okay, so I have prepped all the different slots with kimchi and garlic and sesame oil and some mushrooms. You know, you can do a lot of different things there. I think corn cheese is another popular one, but I didn't do it because Kalbi is already pretty rich. So, oh, also I like to do the onions. So, do a little bit of sesame oil, and I'll add onions there, just to. Add some Kalbi there. That's the sound you want. Okay, another one here. Oh, the smell is just killing me. I'm so hungry. So it's gonna be so yummy. Oh, this one was twisted. Okay. That one's a little charred. Some people love that. I love it actually, but that may be too much for you. Then stop before that happens. Okay. So these are all now ready to eat. I recruited my husband. You know how he loves to eat. So I am going to grill for him, and he's going to show you how he likes to make some, how we like to make some, and enjoy eating. So don't get nervous. You know, just eat as you normally do. Are you getting hungry? Are you hungry? What is that supposed to be? Okay, and so when it's you know, pretty well cooked, it's easy to cut and make it into. And actually, a tip is if you cut from the bottom, you don't have to keep grabbing the meat. Okay, that way. Here, grab your some. Well, get a lettuce wrap. Yeah, lettuce. Only just one lettuce? You should have more. No?
No.
You don't want any?
Maybe I take the parental leaf.
Yeah, a lot of times Koreans love to layer the leaves, but he's not a real vegetable lover, so. Oh, but wait, I forgot. Here's tarachi, which is a must in our family. I make these tarachi from the peppers from the garden and garlic chives. And here's a close up. You can hopefully, and that adds a great punch of sour and sweet flavor to your son. So here I'm giving him some greens, lettuce. So if it's too, yeah, he likes to take off some of the bottom parts. And then is that all? Do you want? Yeah, you should have some perilla leaves. Okay, and then we're
maybe two.
Oh, you want to? Okay, there we go. And then going to add some meat, the kalbi, perfectly grilled. Do you want some rice?
Yes.
Okay. So have some rice on it. And then, oh, and I forgot to mention, so yeah, any of these grilled mushrooms, grilled garlic, brown, if you want. It's up
Not
to
this
you.
time.
Okay. And then samjang. Yeah, samjang is a must. And then do you want jangakji?
That's
Yeah, it's one of his favorites. He will actually cut all the peppers for me because he loves the pickles so much. Okay, and bon appetit. Hope you can all fit it in your mouth. He's so serious. Okay. Okay, good? Can't speak. But so that's how we enjoy it. Sam and Kalbi, whatever Korean barbecue you do, you can have a great meal at the table or outside, you know, picnic is great. So anyway, I thank you for watching today, and I thank my husband for being a good sport. Well, I hope I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye!